So you're very welcome to Trader Chat. I'm looking across at me here at the owner, John Breslin, who's just had a winner at Punchestown. I'm involved in a horse myself who probably won't be winning later on, but that's why I'm in these settings. And the very only lovely owners and trainers bar have been nicely fed. And now I'm going to feed you some information from Star Sports Trading. Over the weekend, we had the end of the Premier League. What drama we had, if even for about half an hour or an hour of the Man City game, and we obviously had two quite impressive winners in the Guineas at the Curragh. What's going on, Flynn?
Well, got back from Ireland early yesterday morning, so I'm obviously not jet lagged because I only came from Ireland, but I do feel a little bit tired. Kind of like three days of racing sandwiched in between two very early flights. Flew out at 6:30 on Friday morning, then flew back at 6:30 yesterday morning. So a little bit knackered, but ready to go here on Trader Chat, and we've got loads to talk about. Obviously, I was over for the Irish Guineas at the weekend. You obviously didn't manage to make it down. I saw that you were out cycling, so decided to hit the road rather than hit the Curragh, Johnny.
Yeah, and I was doing spotlights actually for today's card in the racing post, so I didn't go racing on Sunday. I'm here among the dregs really of horse racing. One of the toughest cards I've seen at Punchestown. It's the first time I've been racing in a bit, actually. 300 to 1 winner of the first, but you were there among the kings and the queens at the Curragh. What was your experience like?
It's a funny one, the Curragh. Have you been since it's been redone?
I have.
Yeah, so I hadn't been before it had been redone, so I only came after the grandstand had been done. Disappointing business levels, to be honest. Some would have seen Simon's pictures that he put on Twitter and stuff like that. Look, everyone's been amazingly nice to us at the Curragh. The other bookmakers over in Ireland are really, really nice guys, friendly with quite a few of them. And even the racetrack, like you do everything great in terms of being accommodating to bookmakers, but there are some things that I think probably should have changed or shouldn't be the way they are. Where the betting ring is doesn't help. It's kind of at the side of the grandstand, not being in front of the stands. But again, it doesn't stop. I was speaking to Ben about this. It doesn't stop your big punters finding you. It just stops those 5 or 10 scores right before the race. But you want to be in the thick of the action right out the front rather than at the side. And to be honest, just the crowd there wasn't the crowd that I was expecting. There weren't many kind of groups of lads having decent bets on, all that type of stuff. I think because it's quite secluded, the Curragh, you have to plan to go there. It's not somewhere that you can just pop straight out of Dublin. You have to drive down that right down that motorway, which isn't ideal. It's not the easiest to get to. So maybe that's the reason why, or maybe it's the marketing. I saw that they had the blogger over, which was obviously very good for them just to get that exposure. But don't know, there's something not quite right there in terms of the crowds at the moment, and also just the feel of the place. It doesn't feel homely. It's a bit of, I don't use the word soulless, but it does feel a little bit like that, to be honest, being at the Curragh. It does have that feel, but I'm sure they'll work it out. It just takes a little bit of time. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on the track there.
Well, it's had, I mean, we're coming out of COVID as well, where people weren't necessarily racing, and Curragh had issues during its redevelopment when it wasn't in much nick for people to go racing. So people have sort of stopped getting out of going to the Curragh. It's also been a struggle for a few years now to attract the crowds it used to attract, and I do think the fact that they got rid of the railway station at the track is not ideal at all, because it's basically on nearly all the main railway lines in Ireland, including obviously from Dublin. It's quite close to Dublin, so if they could have that where you could go and have a few drinks and have a day out to get back in the train, I still think that'd make a huge difference. They could use it as a park and ride as well for workers, because I'm just not sure, will people continually drive to the Curragh when, as you say, it's not ideally situated, and people like their comforts nowadays, so it'll be a challenge for Brian Kavanagh.
Yeah, people like they were doing some type of disco, I think, on the Friday, and I was speaking to some of the other books, and it was just like, well, who's going to go to this? Like, there's nobody here, and then they're doing like an 80s disco thing. Like, when you think of some of the tracks over here, I'm not saying they do it amazingly, but if you look at Sandown, Newmarket, they have these huge acts like George Ezra or whoever, these huge artists come, and they encourage the punters to come in, even if it does attract people from outside of racing. That's great. Yeah. You're attracting people outside of racing, and you're attracting crowds who might then return. But and the whole grandstand does look great from the outside, and it's a bit long shommy and stuff like that. But when you're actually inside, it's huge. It's like an airport hangar when you're in there. It's not it's not quite got the character that you probably want when you go to a Leopardstown with the different niche bars and all that type of stuff. But We probably talk about this for ages, but we should probably just move on to the actual race, you think?
Yeah, I think people can relate though as well, and I actually love the job they've done in the Curragh in general. I think it was a tough job. They've had issues with the noise and all that in the stand, but the problems do remain getting people racing. I think that'll be a problem sort of across more tracks than the Curragh in Ireland. But anyway, at the Curragh, obviously Native Trail did win the 2,000 guineas on Saturday. I found this hard, Flynn. I know you fancied Buckaroo, who sort of looked like he just flattened out. Maybe it was a bit outclassed, but you know, you have a couple of long shots running after Native Trail. I didn't think it was overly impressive. What did you make of it?
I didn't think he was overly impressive either. That's why I wanted to bet Buckaroo. I did obviously bet Buckaroo each way. It was a bit of a stinky each way to be getting involved in, but I couldn't help myself really. But he ran no race, and the fact that Western Native was in front of him probably tells you that it probably wasn't something quite right with Buckaroo. It wouldn't surprise me if he does come back to his best at some point, hopefully at Royal Ascot. In terms of the result for us on course, was a poor result. We laid a good few grand. Native Trail at around 2 to 5. And then in the office was a bad result as well. We laid 35 grand at 2 to 5. That would have been the biggest bet on Native Trail. And there were plenty of kind of 5 grand, 6 grand flying around as well. So not a good result for us, Native Trail. Now 130 chance for the St James's Palace of Royal Ascot. Curragh is favourite for that one, so I'm not really sure where he's going to end up, to be honest, Native Trail. But wherever he does end up, you think he'd have a decent chance, but I don't think he's quite top class like we thought he was going to be anyway. But that was the 2,000, and then moving on to the 1,000. What did you think of Homeless Song? You could only be impressed.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought she was, I mean, I've said it a couple of times, Dermot Weld has had, like he said, a patchy enough year. He's had 4 winners. I should mention Jonathan Harding's article in the Racing Post about Charlie Applesby's riches, but his ability to spread out these good horses, and that's maybe an issue that Flynn has kind of referred to there. But just in terms of Homeless Songs, yeah, it was a really good turn of foot. She's by Frankel, never looked like it'd be an issue staying the mile. I fancied Tuesday. I thought she was rock solid, and she left her for dead, Flynn. And I'm intrigued to know how the betting was on this, because Tuesday was quite weak, and there was money for Henry de Bromhead's winner at Corn as well, which I thought was a bit interesting.
Yeah, Homeless Songs was actually the worst result in the office, and it was a taker on course. They all wanted to be on Tuesday on course, but it was about Homeless Songs in the office. It was fairly easy to back in the market as well. Opened up 5 to 1, went 11 to 2, 6 to 1. So it was pretty easy to back Homeless Songs, but I thought this was some performance. I was saying to the boys at the track that I think we've just seen one there, and I think she'll be a proper horse going forward. She was definitely the one to take out of both guineas for me in terms of being a proper top class horse.
Totally.
Now 7 to 4 for the Coronation Stakes of Royal Ascot. I could see her probably going off odds on once we actually get there. If she obviously does get there when we get to June next month. I can hear the result coming in behind you, Johnny. Who won the second at the Curragh?
The result, this is actually the 4th at this stage. They've divided 2 races here today, so it's a 6 race card. It's possibly the worst race meeting I've ever seen at Punchestown, to be honest, and that's saying something, because I have a runner in it, but I did not have a bet in the race, but I actually have managed to back 1 winner so far, and hopefully 2. In terms of Homeless Songs, in terms of her pedigree, imagine if she were to step up to 1 mile and 2, and if she did stay, she could well stay, and she's hugely exciting. But yeah, we have a proper horse, and good to see she was being backed in the offices as well.
Yeah, most definitely. In terms of other races from the Curragh, I'll just spin through them now in terms of some of the impressive performances and where they might go in future. Firstly, Blackbeard was very impressive in the Marble Stakes. Now 100 to 30 for Coventry. Was actually second favourite. I think it was to Tough Talk, who was quite easy to back. Yeah. Ended up being about even money and did open up around 4 to 5. So Blackbeard, very impressive there, and now your favourite for the Coventry. A proper performance from Raise You in the listed Orby Stakes. Ranton RPR of 117. Not sure where Raise You is going to go next, but that's definitely one to keep an eye on for the future. Big white face as well. Very nice looking horse. There was a bit of a gamble landed on the last race on the Friday. I'm not sure if you've got word for this, Johnny. Surely with your connections you did. Dame Rapide for Barry Fitzgerald. Would you know much about Barry Fitzgerald?
Not at all, actually. And like would have had a handful of winners. And Dame Rapide, who was definitely with other yards before Barry Fitzgerald. I'm trying to remember now who Dame Rapide was with, but nice gamble landed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Dame Rapide won the week before, and we saw money in the office for it. Won at around 14 to 1. I think it SP 16. Then was 16 to 1 here as well. Was up against a decent field. I think it was
next John McConnell.
Yeah. There you go. Was 16 to 1 into 7 to 1. So a big gamble on Dame Rapide. A lot of 1,000 to 60s with fractions being laid around the betting ring. I think he's a trainer to keep an eye on Barry Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
but
he's flying it.
One gamble. Yeah. One gamble to talk about from the Friday night meeting. There was actually a very quiet meeting apart from that race, really. Some ride on Alan Kerr by Tom Marquand in the Gold Cup. Just wanted to give that a decent mention. Decent enough result on track. All the money was for Stay Abreast and Joseph O'Brien. 130 into 2-1 for Stay Abreast, but a fantastic ride from Tom Marquand there. And then the last one I just want to speak about was Pearls Galore, who was workmanlike in the Group 2 1-mile race, but was well backed by punters who had a good few grand there. You would have seen on Twitter, the blogger had a few grand with us on that one at 5 to 6 and got the job done at 8 to 11. So a decent time over there. We just won on course. We are one small, just managed to win the X's for me and Simon flying over. And we had a bit of a tougher time in the office with Native Trail winning and Homeless Songs being a taker in the book on course and a loser in the office.
So whilst all this was going on, you were missing the drama in the Premier League where Liverpool initially go behind against Wolves, then equalise, but all the action that I think people were watching, certainly until Villa went 2-0 up, was obviously at the Etihad Stadium. And Manchester City they weren't playing well at all. They're 2-0 down. Of course, I, like many others, flicked over to the Liverpool game, and then the goals started to stream in. Gundogan changes the game. All of a sudden, it's 3-2, and that dream evaporated very quickly. But what was this like for Star Sports? I'm sure it was a busy Sunday.
It certainly was indeed, and the kind of flip-flopping of results wasn't great. We had people betting City when they were 2 down, so it wasn't the best result for us there. Obviously, we have our 2 good offer as well, so we pay when you go 2-0 up or 2 ahead. So people backing Villa obviously copped there, and then so we ended up paying out on 2 results. We paid out City and them. And then the Liverpool game was just madness as well. How was it watching as a Liverpool fan yourself, Johnny? Was it a difficult watch?
Well, you did expect Liverpool. Liverpool weren't playing that well, but you did sort of expect that they'd get a goal and that'd be all right. But like, it was just a 2-0. The way Man City were playing, you really did not expect them to launch this rally. And I know they've all that talent, but they hadn't been playing well. And Villa were probably nearly worthy of the 2-0. And then it was just, here's one goal. It seemed like it was over in an absolute flash. And once it was 3-2, you knew pretty much that was it. So I think it's been an amazing season for Liverpool, regardless of what happens. They've just come up short. Great points tally. But bloody hell, Steven Gerrard did his best for them, I think.
Oh, yeah, he certainly did. And then, like you say, just came in a wave, didn't it, City? And it kind of just all happened at once. In terms of what the Premier League looked like for the season, Liverpool would have been small losers, actually decent losers in the end. So we were happy to see City go over the line. And I think secretly, for me personally, I just didn't want Liverpool to win everything this year. I just wanted to be spread out a little bit. And maybe, although it would have been a good story for you going on to the quadruple, wouldn't have been for me. We were just packing away whilst it was all going on. So I was just hearing scores from different Irishmen kind of ringing out 2-2 and all that type of stuff. So exhilarating stuff to finish the season. We can't ask for much more, but you've still got it all to play for in the Champions League final, haven't you? So
absolutely, yeah. And in the end, like Man City deserve to win the league. I'm not going to take that away from them. But there's something about the whole project that doesn't. I don't really want it. So I did want Liverpool to win, but I do like Gundogan as a player, and he was amazing when he came on. And they turned it around. It was an incredible end to the season. For at least an hour, it was really incredible entertainment. And there we have it.
Yeah, and in terms of the top 4, so obviously Arsenal did not get a top 4. They were the only loser in that market for us. So as painful as it is, it was good for the firm. We actually copped a nice few quid there, to be fair. Let's see what we actually laid on Arsenal in the top 4. They 3.5 grand at 3-1, quite a bit done at 5-1, then some done at 4-7 as well. So it was a decent enough result for the firm, with Arsenal not getting top 4 and coming 5th. United were a taker in the book. And then Spurs being a good result. So decent end in the outright market and in the top 4 market. I can see if I can get relegation while we're there as well.
Yeah, and we're coming up to
the if I can find
Champions League final. Liverpool 11-10, Real Madrid 23-10, draw 5-2. I have to say I'm not that confident about Liverpool just the way they've been playing of late. I think they've been I think they're running out of legs a bit. Now they do have obviously a lot of squad depth and whatever, but the likes of Salah, he's not playing the way as well as he was. I think they're slightly running out of legs. They're taking on these veterans from Madrid who actually would probably fancy their chance the closer we get to the weekend.
Madrid just can't do anything wrong in the Champions League. I mean, the neutral you'd think would want Madrid to win just for the fairy tale of all their results. It would go down in history books, I think, of one of the greatest runs in terms of game turnarounds and that type of stuff. So I would like Madrid to obviously go and do the business in the Champions League final. Johnny's obviously just read the betting out there. Just going back to the Premier League very quickly, in terms of relegation, how the book looks as we finish, Everton would have been the only losers there. So another decent result for us in the book for the Premier League outright. So Rory and the football team will be pretty happy as we look back on this.
Well done to Rory and the lads. Just next season, Manchester City 4-7, Liverpool 2, 16's bar, and we've the relegation markets up there. Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford leading the way, and obviously Leeds, who just about survived. They're 5-2. You imagine they might improve next season. Everton at 4s might be tempting to some. So check out that market as well. And of course, we had the golf as well, in which Rory McIlroy did what Rory McIlroy does.
Yeah, to be fair, he's kind of done it the other way round this week, because he tends to start slowly and finish strongly, and he did it the other way around. He started very quickly. He did have a decent enough last round, but it was in the middle where he struggled this time rather than the first 2 rounds. We had a very nice looking book here. Even though JT ended up winning, we had 2 losers in the shape of McIlroy and JT. In these golf books where you bet 9, 10 the field, you tend to have quite a few losers, but we ended up only with 2. Unfortunately for us, JT was one of them. Zalatoris would have been a great result if he were to win the playoff. Obviously, that wasn't to be. We laid some decent bets on Mito Pereira, and he was running up in a few multis as well. So we were staring down the barrel of a couple $100,000 if Mito Pereira had done the business. He was around 11-4 before the final round. He was banging in contention, had made some really nice saves, and then on the last hole, he had an uncharacteristic big old slice off the tee, straight into the hazard, brought double bogey into play, and he didn't make the playoff. And then JT went and got the business done. One thing I did want to call out was the miss the cut offer that we did this week. So if your player missed the cut, you got a free bet back up to 50 quid. With some of the top players missing the cut this week, just the way the tournament played out. Corey Connors, Patrick Cantlay, the world number 1 Scotty Scheffler, Daniel Berger, and then Dustin Johnson as well. So some very decent players there missing the cut. As we had a look at, sorry, I'm just like someone coming through on the phone there, just trying to get rid of them. Connors, Cantlay, world number 1 Scotty Scheffler, Berger and DJ. So some decent players there where you would have qualified for the offer in the golf this week. So that's the sport for last week. We kind of enter into a different phase now, because racing-wise, we actually head into the main classics. I like to say, when we head into the Oaks and the Derby in not this week but next week. We'll be at the track both days for that. And then in terms of football-wise, we kind of, I know the World Cup is back right towards the back end of the year, but we've got a decent little break now in terms of the football. And it's probably more focused on racing. Golf, Formula One's been very, very good so far.
And the Star Sports Dog Derby.
And the Star Sports Dog Derby. So we've got loads to be looking forward to. We had the second round draw. All of the anti-post is on the website, so do check that out. I don't think there was too many shots from the first couple of rounds, although we did manage to do our money wholesale on course for the first 3 nights. So we did our money on the first day, the second day, and then we did an absolute chunk on Saturday. So it'll be a long way back to get to level before finals night anyway.
Yeah, and just to finish up, Desert Crown 2, Stone Age 5-2, and Tisbedeel 50-2 for Flynn in the Derby. So it's all coming ahead of us. So we've had the Premier League, we've had the Guineas at Curragh, lots more to come, and we will be back with Trader Chat next week.